Oh, good for you. You're going the other way. You will not be bringing your parka. You will not be wearing a jacket to the airport.
No.
That's how I like to roll. I don't like to bring a jacket to the airport.
But yeah, you just have to wear it, because what else are you going to do? Otherwise you have to like pretend it's in your luggage, right? And then that's impossible.
I don't have room in my luggage for it.
Like there's very few things on the agenda. I'm like,
Did you send me an email on Saturday that you wanted me to do your quick favor?
Well, except for the
couple items
Oh, no.
and the budget.
That sounds like fishy.
What?
I got that too.
I did not get that.
I replied, I'm like, sorry, I just got this.
That's fishy. That's fishy.
That's a
Pretending to be you.
So am I gonna need one of these
That's
to
happened
say?
before. Remember that happened
Yeah.
at
Are you
Ellis?
Amy Avakian?
Yeah.
Then you're in the right spot.
Okay.
Just say
Yeah,
sign.
I was like, wait, did I send you a message? Yeah. No, and we should probably tell Ellen, she can tell Pat.
Or we can buy her a bunch of gift cards. I think they usually.
Oh, is that what the favor was?
No, I don't know. I made that.
Oh,
I can tell it's, I don't even read them anymore. I can tell when it's a hack so easily.
This looks,
Legitness? Was it to your village email?
yeah.
That's scary.
yeah.
Okay.
Coming from my village.
Email.
Yeah.
Did it sound like Heidi's tone though?
Well, if it just
hey,
says,
can you do me a
"Can you
favor?
If it just says
Quick
that.
favor.
And will we have to send the
Yeah.
whole thing back to planning commission?
Something
Or just
under
send it?
that though.
I think you could do whatever you want.
Okay.
I think that's the discussion, you just need to.
Let me tell you.
Always like, let's see.
What is, like, what do you want to hear, what do you want to hear, and then hopefully we can come to some consensus. And then
Love
Ann
and
can help
care.
with the-
Oh, I didn't read that part.
That's not really what I would say.
I thought there was something
I
else.
didn't read that part. about
And
the
if you
love and
click on who it came from, it's ldvgr@gmail.com. Then you can tell it's not
You've
me.
done your training at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look for it like that.
Is there a way that we can get them to do homework? So I have language on a.
Someone wants to.
Amy, you need to do your cybersecurity training.
And now, because
Just pay more attention.
they may try to get you again since you replied.
Okay.
I think. I
At
guess
least,
that would
at
be.
least you didn't click on anything.
Well, it
I'd
said
like
that
to
my
throw
reply
S
failed,
emotion once.
so they didn't get my reply.
Oh,
Well, that's also
S
very
emotion.
suspicious.
So what can we do for you?
I don't know. Come to the meeting. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness
so something
gracious.
like the band giving, like, you could make this motion, you can do
That's creepy.
as moved or so moved or whatever, rather than repeat what she says.
I learned in my last committee meeting.
Let me get to the
that
link I really wanted.
I love it.
Used it all
The
the time.
actual thing.
I remember the first time I heard that, I'm like, that is an
Okay.
excellent hack.
So moved. Yes, yes, very clever.
It does take someone that like can see her.
Okay, this is all related to the library. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
There will be
like when the court reporter's here, she's
Okay.
refusing to catch everyone.
1 minute. Hi,
So
Al.
that's not as easy.
Hello.
How are you?
Is Phil here too?
I think he's here.
He's expected to be here.
Phil.
He doesn't appear here right now. but
It's
I-
slippery out there.
Has not.
It is kind of slippery.
It was a challenge to get across the tracks.
Was it? At least Wolf Road was open again.
South sides, yeah.
Been
South
closed
side was
all
okay.
day. Well, water main break at 2 a.m.
Oh my
And then
God.
It took till, I think we reopened the road sometime this afternoon. Like right before the snow started. Took a long time.
Oh, there he is. He's saying, look, he's
Oh, goodness.
Oh, right. Perfect timing.
Just got stuck behind somebody stopping their screen like.
Oh,
You literally made it in exactly 7 o'clock on the apple. Okay.
They're still running.
Ready? All right. Good evening. Welcome to the December 1st, 2025 meeting of the Village of Western Springs Village Board of Trustees to honor our nation's heroes and especially to honor the individuals who serve and protect our community. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. May we have the roll call, please, Clerk Timick?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
here.
Trustee Fink.
Here.
Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
All present.
Thank you very much. All right. Next on our agenda is public comment. We will begin with public comment as we always do. However, we will hold public comment on the Western Springs Park District item regarding the softball field and signage until the item comes up on our agenda later tonight. We have a couple other things. Is there anybody who would like to address us on anything else? All right, then we're going to move to our truth in taxation public hearing regarding the 2025 village property tax levy. We call this hearing to order. Clerk Tim, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Trustee Avakian.
Here.
Trustee Chen.
Here.
Trustee Fink. Here. Trustee Lewis.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
Nobody has escaped.
All right. And can you please acknowledge publication of public notice?
Yes, I can. I can confirm that the publication of the public notice occurred in the Suburban Life on November 20th of 2025.
Thank you very much. And Manager Bear, can you please present the 2025 property tax levy?
Yes, I am pleased to present the 2025 property tax levy tonight. The total 2025 levy request is $12,125,063, which consists of the village levy request of $10,033,733 and the Thomas Ford Memorial Library's levy request of $2,091,330. The village's total property tax increase is 13.61%, or $1,202,310 compared to last year. A large portion of the increase, about $871,000, is attributable to principal and interest payments of bonds that were approved as part of the 2025 referendum. As a non-home rule community, the village must comply with the Property Tax Extension Limitation Law, PTEL, which limits the increases in property tax extensions. The limitation law specifies that increases are to be the lesser of 5%, or the increase in the National Consumer Price Index, CPI, for the year preceding the levy year, plus an additional amount for new growth. There are levy exceptions to PTEL, which are not subject to cap, including the debt service of general obligation bonds and limited tax bonds, and the special recreation levy. The CPI for 2025 levy is 2.9%, and we assumed an estimated new growth of 1.59%. Any overestimation of new growth will be reduced by the county. We will pass an ordinance directing the county to do so and the proper lines of the levy to adjust. If you can take a look at the slides, this is a graphic that shows the village's portion of about $10 million and how it's allocated. 27% goes to law enforcement services, which includes the contribution to the police pension fund, 24% for payments of long-term debt approved by referendum, 23% for general operations of the village to provide existing services, 8% for each of the departments of municipal services and fire and EMS, 4% for recreation and CSPAR, 4% for IMRF, the pension system for other employees of the village, and 2% for the capital improvement fund. This next slide is a sample tax bill of a home within School District 101 that sold in 2025 with a value of $650,000. The village's portion of the bill is about 11.4% of the total $13,500 bill. The proposed levy would increase the village's share by $210. This next slide is a similar depiction of a home in Western Springs, but this one is located in School District 106 boundaries. The increase to the village portion includes the required payments for the first bond issuance related to the 2025 referendum. This concludes the village's levy presentation. If the village board is in concurrence, then a levy ordinance will be presented for approval at the December 15th meeting. Additionally, 4 other ordinances will be needed to be placed on the agenda. You'll see those listed on your agenda tonight. Letter II under this discussion is directing Cook County to do the separate calculations for the village levy and the library levy. Item III, which is directing the county to reduce the 2025 levy in a certain manner according to the provision of PTEL, as I referenced previously. IV is abating the debt service payments of the Series 2015A bonds as an alternative revenue source has been pledged for the principal and interest of these bonds. And item, where am I at? Item IV, abating the debt service payments, item IV also included abating the debt service payments for the Series 2025 bonds as the village pledged revenues received from the stormwater utility fee to pay for the principal and interest of these bonds. So all of those items will need to be approved by the village board in the future. And I wanted to thank the Director of Finance, John Mastandona, who really did a wonderful job of preparing the levy information and the budget information that you will see in our next presentation, with assistance from his staff, from all of our village department directors, and from the budget team. I think many hours went into work on the staff side, but I also want to thank the village board because all of you put in quite a lot of hours with us as we reviewed each of the department items to determine what we would present tonight with the budget, as well as the levy hearing that we're working on right now. So if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them tonight. If you have more in-depth questions, please connect with myself or Deputy Manager Bernacki, and we will work with Director of Finance John Mastandona to prepare anything that you'd like to ask for between now and the December 15th board meeting.
Does anyone have questions? I have what might be one that you don't know. If it weren't for the new referendum and the new debt service, do we know what the percentage increase would have been without that?
I'm not sure I have that
I'm sorry, I know
here,
that's a bit of a
but that
hard
is
question.
definitely something we can put together and send out between now and the meeting.
Okay.
The referendum is obviously a big piece
Right.
of what that increase is, but I don't have the exact number.
Right. Yeah, I'm just curious if we were near to like the CPI, the 2.9, or more at the maximum.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah.
I will get you that information,
Okay.
thanks.
Great, thank you. Okay. Any questions from the public? Okay. And I understand we are going to have a presentation by the Thomas Ford Memorial Library Director Ted Bodies, but he will not be attending, and I think Assistant Manager Bernacki is going to take us through that.
Thank you, President Rudolph. Yes, I can read off, sorry about that. Some information that was provided to us from the Thomas Ford Library. Here's some feedback up there.
Yeah, let's let Dan try to fix that before you proceed.
Try a different mic. Or do you, I think you're under the speaker, maybe slide
Is that any better?
Yes, it is.
All right. Sorry about that, everyone. The Library Board of Trustees is proposing the following levy requests for fiscal year 2026, as summarized in this slide. For fiscal year 2026, the library operating levy is $1,600,090. Expenditures from this fund include salaries, benefits, insurance, supplies, media expenditures, and a contingency. The library building and maintenance levy this year is $179,400, which does not exceed 0.02% of anticipated EAV as stipulated by law. Expenditures from the fund include contractual services, building supplies, furniture and equipment, and a contingency. The IMRF levy amount for fiscal year 2025 is $69,500. The bond levy, including a 5% statutory loss allowance, is $242,340 for repayment of our general obligation bonds approved by voters in 2018. The total of the Thomas Ford Memorial Library levy is $2,091,330, which represents a 1.02% increase over last year's final levy amounts. And if you have any questions between now and the 15th, you can certainly reach out directly to us as staff, or directly to the Thomas Ford Memorial Library Director Bo Davis himself. And we'll be able to answer those questions before the next meeting.
Thank you, Casey.
All right. Last chance. Any other questions? Okay. Mr. Martin.
I'd like to move to place the following items on the December 15th, 2025 Village Board meeting agenda for final action and approval. Item I, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois, providing for the levy, assessment, and collection of taxes on property within the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2026, and ending December 31st, 2026, the 2025 property tax levy. II, an ordinance directing the Cook County Clerk's Office to reduce the 2025 tax levy in a certain manner in accordance with the provisions of the tax cap. How do we, Is that what I say?
Yeah.
An ordinance directing the Cook County Clerk's Office to reduce the 2025 tax levy in a certain manner according to the provisions of the tax cap, separate calculation for the village and library levy. IV, an ordinance abating the tax heretofore levied for the tax year 2025 to pay for the principal and interest of $3 million general obligations bond, alternative revenue source series 2015A of the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois. Item V, an ordinance abating the tax heretofore levied for the tax year 2025 to pay the principal and interest of $5,720,000 general obligation bonds, alternative revenue source, series 2025 of the Village of Western Springs, Cook County, Illinois.
All right.
Can we get a
Need
second, please?
Second.
I'll second the motion.
All right, and then
And
this
a
is
roll call?
And may we have the roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rowe. Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I move to close the public hearing. Do I need a second?
Yes.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second the motion.
Voice vote for that?
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. We'll return to the agenda for the December 1st, 2025 Village Board regular meeting, which will then take us to the public hearing concerning the 2026 operating budget to commence immediately following the conclusion of the tax levy public hearing. So we will call that to order again. The Truth in Taxation public hearing concerning the 2026 budget. Clerk Timick, can we have the roll call again, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Here.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee
Here.
Martin.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Here.
Everybody's here.
They're all
Okay.
here. Yes.
Also, again, can you acknowledge the publication of the public notice?
Yes, I can confirm that this public notice was also published in the Suburban Life on November 20th of 2025.
Thank you very much. And Manager Bear, can you please present the 2026 budget?
Yes, thank you. Tonight, we will review the 2026 budget with eventual approval at the December 15th, 2025 meeting anticipated. Committees have reviewed their respective departments, their budgets, and the Finance Committee has reviewed the budget in its entirety. Thank you again for all of your hard work. The village has 17 funds in this budget, and the first slide that we will show shows that each of those budgets has a specific purpose. The referendum fund was established in 2025 to appropriately reflect activities related to the approved referendum. So that is a new fund for us that we had not had before. There are significant investments being made to infrastructure and capital improvements within the Capital Improvement Fund, Referendum Fund, Water and Sewerage, and Stormwater funds. So each of those has a very specific purpose, and we've gone over those thoroughly in public meetings throughout this process. The next slide shows revenue categories. The categorization of total revenue of approximately $40 million is depicted. This is consistent with village demographics and being almost entirely a bedroom community that is comprised of 95% residential property within our bounds. The community is heavily reliant on property taxes. As discussed in the levy presentation, the village is required to contribute to the police pension fund, which is about 25% of the total village levy. This next slide is a revenue pie chart. It depicts property taxes that provide about 28% of our total revenue. Sales tax provides an additional 5.33% of the total revenue. Other smaller sources, such as the state's local government distributive fund, or LGDF, and licenses and permits have been strong in recent years. Though the LGDF and licenses and permit revenue streams are projected to continue in 2026, they are being closely monitored throughout the year as they are impacted by economic conditions as well as legislative changes. This allows the village to make any adjustment during the fiscal year whenever we need to. So if we note that those revenues aren't coming in as we projected, and we do project very conservatively, Director Mastandona and I are both very conservative in how we approach these things, we can adjust and come back to the board and talk to you about budget amendments that may reduce expenditures and other things in order to offset revenues that are unrealized. The next slide shows expenditures in all funds. Significant portion of the 2026 expenditures, 29%, is allocated to capital infrastructure projects that we will cover later in the presentation. Salaries and benefits is 28%, including pension contributions. This is typical of a municipality of our size, but it represents a substantial funding obligation. The chart also breaks out non-discretionary expenditures. The village is obligated to repay all debt and provide police and fire benefit payments. Moving on, I'm going to ask Deputy Manager Bernacki to provide some detail on the individual funds in these upcoming slides.
Thanks, Manager Bear. We'll start with the general fund. The village's general fund, both the revenue side and expenditure side, serves as our village's operation fund. On the revenue side, the projected increase with our general fund from property taxes is about 4.6%. To budget conservatively, staff does not include any fees or increases in fees that may be approved by the board in 2026 in this proposed budget. On the expenditure side, wages are built into this portion of the budget, and that includes some high ticket items like our health insurance increase of 32%, police pension contributions increased by 8.5%. Totaling about $2.4 million, and IMRF pension contributions decreased by 2.1%. Focusing a little bit more on our general fund revenue, some of the larger revenue streams in our general fund are our property taxes at almost $6.9 million. Income taxes expected to bring in about $2.5 million paid per capita. License and permits of about $1.5 million, which is the user fee applied to any licenses or permits gathered by individuals working with the village. And then general sales sales use tax of $2.1 million, which is paid for goods sold or delivered here in Western Springs. Speaking of general sales tax, this is just an example receipt that shows kind of what the existing 1% sales tax brings into the village per purchase. So there's an example of a grocery shopping, dinner hour, hardware store. What's really important, I think, to focus in on here is that for every $1 million spent shopping locally in Western Springs, the village receives about $10,000 of that with our existing sales tax. Very important part of our sales tax revenue and community success is local businesses. The village highly values these businesses and what they offer to the community, and the village board and staff strongly encourage residents to support our local businesses and shop locally wherever possible. On the expenditure side of the general fund, we'll dive just a little deeper just to show what the breakout looks like. Again, as mentioned earlier and previously discussed, the majority of our general fund is taken up by salaries and benefits, about 55%, another 22% by contractual services, and then 15% for contributions to the police and fire pension. And speaking of the police and fire pension funding levels, this chart shows what our funding levels has looked like over the last decade and a half. The police pension was 56% funded at year end of 2024 at the time of the most recent actuarial reports. Funding levels fluctuate year to year based on those actuarial assumptions, such as our demographic of pensioners changing and changes to the mortality tables. The village's goal is to be fully funded by 2033, well ahead of the state statute of a 90% funding level by 2040. Our next fund to talk about is our capital improvement fund, and this includes things like building and land improvements, office equipment and furniture, vehicles, machinery and equipment. Some Some hot topics to pull out of this in our building and land improvements section is some HVAC work for Village Hall, which is about $185,000. A new roof at our Public Works facility, about $165,000. And then some work totaling about $210,000 at our historic water tower. Other items to call out here is office equipment and furniture. That number is rather large because it also includes our village's IT hardware. And then vehicles, both leased and purchased, are listed in here. It is worth mentioning that some vehicles are split between this fund and our water and sewer fund if they're utilized for specific services in those capacities. Our referendum fund, as Manager Bayer mentioned, is new in 2025, but will continue throughout the next decade. The referendum fund includes all the projects listed here on the screen, and there's a map that shows where those projects are located. That includes Woodland Avenue, some resurfacing projects, some sewer and water main lining, and hydrant valve replacements. I do want to call out the engineering item on here, totaling almost 1.7. That includes, of course, all phases of engineering related to the projects listed here. It also includes projects that are potentially in the out year as we design for them. A good example of that is our Safe Routes to School travel plan is nearing completion, and there's some sidewalk projects that were pulled out of that as something we are proposing to start designing in 2026. Some infill projects on the north side of town in Old Town North and in Forest Hills. Our motor fuel tax program has two projects proposed for this year. One is the completion of Hampton Avenue from Hillgrove Avenue to Ogden, which the majority of construction was completed this year, but there is some overrun into 2026. And then our Public Works garage, we're proposing a grind and resurface of the asphalt surface there. It's well past its useful life. Some water and sewer fund projects to highlight, and these are largely funded through our water and sewer utility bills. On the water system project side, we have a large project, the IPA lead service line replacement, which we spoke about at length at the village board level. We have to complete those projects every year, so we're expecting a $1.1 million project next year. Of course, we're projecting a revenue component on the IPA side from that, hoping that we receive some funds from the IPA. Another project to call out is the well number 3 maintenance. We need to maintain our deep wells on a 10 to 15 year basis based on how they're operating. So 2026 is the year for well number 3, coming up on that maintenance schedule. So that is another proposed project totaling about $400,000. On the sewer side, we have a number of different projects. You can see that vehicle leases and purchasing is listed there too, because we have some vehicles that perform sewer related tasks, and so some of that cost is shared there. But one project we always like to call out is our overhead sewer program. That's something that residents of Western Springs can enjoy. They can submit applications to receive cost-sharing benefits for overhead sewer or backflow preventer equipment at their residential home. And then lastly, our stormwater utility projects. One to note is Springdale Detention Basin. That's nearing completion, although we do expect about a $500,000 worth of work to occur in 2026, so you'll see that in the budget. But if you've driven past it, you see that it's nearing completion pretty quickly. And then two projects that we wanted to highlight for 2026 are our Ridgewood outfall upsizing project, which is the installation of a large diameter outfall into Flag Creek over on Ridgewood Drive, totaling $2.4 million. And Spring Rock Park sewer lining project, which is the lining of one of our largest combined sewers that runs through Spring Rock Park. And it serves most of the northwest side of our community. Both these projects are funded through the stormwater utility fee, so they don't impact the tax levy, the property tax levy. They are fully funded through alternate revenue bonds and through the utility itself. And with that, that does conclude the 2026 budget presentation for the Village of Western Springs. An ordinance will need to be placed on the December 15, 2025 agenda for approval, and we're here to answer any questions you might have now or between now and the 15th.
Thank you. That was very thorough.
I would just like to note that throughout this process, there were items, really important things that did not make it into the budget. And that's because our revenues are limited. And so as we continue to refine things that are needed, if things change, if there items that need to come back to the board, we will bring those through our normal process, come to the Finance Committee, talk about a budget amendment, come to the full board and seek approval of those things. So throughout the year, we will continue to assess and reassess. The budget's a great guideline for us to follow, and we do it as close as we can. But as you know, sometimes situations change, and it warrants the staff coming back to you for consideration. So we will certainly keep our eye on changing environment and what might need to happen in the coming months.
Great, thank you. Questions on any of the specifics, or just in general? There were lots of good information. Very, very thorough, great presentation. I think, all the work is evident, and I know kind of like a lot of families, we had a kind of a surprise increase in the insurance costs, which created some just additional kind of belt tightening being required that wasn't expected. And so I know that, like you say, Manager Bear, that was one of the areas too where then that resulted in some additional cuts to things that we had hoped to do.
Yes.
So,
Thank you for bringing that up.
okay.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Yes. Great, so we have a motion.
I'd like to move to place the following items on the December 15th, 2025 Village Board meeting agenda for final action and approval. Item I, an ordinance approving the Village of Western Springs fiscal year 2026 annual budget beginning January 1st, 2026 and ending December 31st, 2026. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion. Did we need public comment?
Yeah, I was going to say,
Oh, I'm so sorry, did I skip it?
before we call roll, is there just any, hearing no final questions from the board, were there any questions or comments from the public? Okay. If not, thank you.
I second the
You'll
motion.
second it? Okay. And may we have a roll call, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I move to close the public hearing.
You have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We are closed. We have closed the public hearing. And now we will return to the December 1st, 2025 Village Board regular meeting. The first item, well, now our item number 9, was just the approval of the meeting minutes and just the President and Board of Trustees meeting from November 17th, 2025 meeting minutes as read. If nobody had any questions, that will be on the next omnibus. Okay. We'll move on to the committee reports, beginning with General Government. Trustee Chen.
Thank you. One item, which is discussion only tonight, is an amendment to the consulting services with MGT Impact Solutions, LLC. And to give you all a summary of this item, the Village of Western Springs entered into an agreement with MGT Impact Solutions, LLC, for a part-time interim director of recreation, who is Nancy Flores, and a part-time human resources project manager, which is Stefana
Przybylski.
in 2025. Every year, MGT provides the village with updated terms and pay rates for each individual servicing Western Springs. In your packet, you will find a master employment agreement with 2 exhibits for consideration for 2026. There are no changes to the human resources project manager annual rate. There is a minor increase from $98.60 an hour to $101.50 an hour for the interim director of recreation. Staff is available for questions tonight, and this item will be placed on the December 15th omnibus for consideration. That is it.
Great. Any questions on that?
No.
All right. Very good. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the Finance Committee report. Trustee Martin. We've
Not
already
tonight.
talked a lot about finance.
We have.
Okay.
I think we're done for the night.
Thank you. All right. Moving to the Planning and Zoning Committee report. Trustee Fink.
All right, thank you. So the Planning and Zoning Committee is recommending approving the Timber Trails subdivision supplemental letter of agreement for the sale and development of 11 finished lots. So Timber Trails has a bunch of empty lots. McNaughton Builders have purchased 39 of them in the past, and they would like to purchase another 11 lots. They do this every couple of years. The same terms carry over from the original developer, Timber Trails Development Company. And so it's consistent with past agreements passed by other boards. Any questions? And the second item is Planning and Zoning is recommending approving the 2026 professional services agreement with V3 Companies for construction observation for the Timber Trails subdivision. So V3 has been used by the village for other purposes, and under the 2026 proposal, V3 will handle lot-specific permit reviews, infrastructure inspections, and oversees the expected Unit 2 construction and closeouts. This includes monitoring public improvements such as roads, sidewalks, to ensure compliance with approved plans. Any questions? All right, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to Public Works and Water, Trustee Lewis.
Thank you. Our committee is recommending the full board approve a resolution at our next meeting that will support an application from Western Springs to obtain a $3 million in federal surface transportation funding that will be distributed via the West Central Municipal Conference. The conference requires a board resolution in support of the project to ensure we will provide local matching funds if our project is selected for funding. The proposed project involves significant roadway and streetscape improvements to Hillgrove Avenue between Wolf Road and Hampton Avenue. Very, very preliminary cost estimates include nearly $9 million for construction and another $3 million for engineering expenses. In addition to the surface transportation funding from the West Central Municipal Conference, the village will be seeking additional grants from other sources. And we are really looking ahead here. If the project is selected for funding by the West Central Municipal Conference, it would not proceed to construction until 2030 at the earliest. So any questions about that?
Nice that we can take advantage of the opportunity to apply. Okay.
Right. My next item is happening much sooner, next year in fact. Our committee recommends the full board award a contract for the Woodland Avenue reconstruction project to the lowest cost responsible bidder, G&M Cement Construction, for an amount not to exceed $2,992,345.08. The project includes complete infrastructure improvements on Woodland Avenue from Burlington Avenue to 47th Street. The work includes a complete roadway reconstruction, replacement of the existing 100-plus-year-old 4-inch water main with a new 8-inch water main and new fire hydrants. A new separated storm sewer will also be constructed, and the existing sanitary sewer and sewer service lines within the village right-of-way will be rehabilitated. The work is being paid for with our referendum funds. And this item should be on the agenda for action at our next meeting. Any questions on that? All right, moving on. Also related to the Woodland Avenue project, the Public Works and Water Committee recommends approval of a professional services agreement with H.R. Green, Inc. to oversee construction for an amount not to exceed $274,935. H.R. Green completed the design engineering on the project, and they have assisted the village on other roadway construction projects in recent years. And that item is also up for our meeting, our next meeting. And that is all I have.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank you. Moving on to Properties and Rec Committee, Trustee Naraki.
Thanks, President Rudolph. I have two items on my agenda that are for discussion only. The first one being the approval of contract with SW Clean Service for 2026 janitorial maintenance services. We put this out for rebid due to some performance issues with our current janitorial company that has been working with us, and there were a couple of low bids. They were reviewed by Properties and Rec, and in our meeting, we didn't know which one was going to be picked, but we are looking for SW Clean Service, the third lowest bidder. Because we had previous experience with the other two that had come through, so we're recommending using this one. Also looking through their recommendations and talking to them. Does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, this will be for our next meeting as well to vote on. And then my next agenda item is the renewal of right-of-way use license and fiber optic cable agreement between the Village of Western Springs and MCI Metro Access Transmission Services, LLC. So Wide Open West was the original people that put in some fiber optic cable and gave the village a lot of benefits here, and we had a bunch of cable for us when they put all this in. Wide Open West is leaving and Verizon is taking over. So it's kind of right, here's the next person up to maintain all these things that are going on. And so this will kind of take care of that. Does that cover that, Director Super?
Yes, for the most part, you hit it on. Just one clarification from the previous agreement. So we did remove the language in the agreement. The previous 10-year agreement that we had with Wide Open West had some provisions where they would hand over the fiber that they installed to the village. That has been completed, so we did remove those provisions from this renewal. But the rest of the agreement is largely the same in terms of the right-of-way use agreement.
Thanks, Director Zuber. I knew there was something else I didn't quite have in there, but does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay, that concludes my report for tonight.
All right, thank you very much. All right, and the Public Health and Safety Committee report, Trustee Avakian?
I have nothing to report tonight.
All right, thank you. All right, next item on our agenda, we do not have any action on any of the items we've just covered. There is no omnibus vote tonight. So we will move on to new business, of which we have no new business. We're going to move to old business, and this would be with respect to the softball field and signage. And we are going to begin with public comment. If anyone here would like to address the board about this particular topic. Okay, just wanted to make sure. We want to make sure everybody has their fair airtime. So, okay.
So this public comment is your opportunity, though, to speak, and then we'll close public comment and move into the board comments. So I just want to clarify that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Trustee Fink.
As previously discussed, am I bringing this all together?
This, I think, separating it out.
Gotcha.
Yep.
After review of the agenda and discussion with the village manager, it has been suggested that we take up this matter into two parts. First, I'll make a motion to consider the construction of the softball field along with conditions A through E of Section 3 of the proposed ordinance, which encompasses the conditions related to the construction of the softball field. Then we will take up the issue of the signage separately. With that said, I move to approve the issuance of an amendment to the conditional use permit for the construction, operation, and maintenance of a multi-use softball field within Spring Rock Park in accordance with the application and subject to conditions A through E in Section 3 of proposed ordinance.
So before a second, we do?
No, we need a second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second.
Thank you.
A motion and a second, so now we can open it up for board discussion.
Okay.
I just wanted to, before we have too much discussion, just mention that reason we're separating these things out is so that we can walk through each of the items that came from the Plan Commission and deal with just the softball field first from a discussion standpoint.
So if it's just the softball field, I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
So I'll chime in. I thought about this a lot. I don't know if we need a third softball field, but I don't think that's our purview. Our purview is to talk about whether or not if they want to put in a softball field, are they meeting the village requirements for that? So I think I heard through the transcripts and everything that there's going to get a revised FEMA floodplain, and box is going to get checked before construction starts.
I think, Director Koza, do you want to address that? I had the same question about the floodplain and the FEMA.
That is my understanding as well,
Okay.
that they will complete that process.
I didn't think that that was an unusually undue thing. I think I read in the transcripts that documentation would, if you satisfy Western Springs, you satisfy the board, I think. Is that what I heard? But the second thing that sorry.
Do you want to comment?
No, I agree with that.
The second thing, though, was on the parking, and I don't understand I'd like to understand better, and I didn't follow everything in the transcripts, to be fair, about banked land and so forth, but it seems to me the goal for this softball field is to drive traffic to that corner of the park. That's the goal, that the traffic's not going there because it's going to be a softball field, softball games, more cars, more traffic, and we've got the pickleball court there now. And I heard loud and clear that there's no money from either the Park District, I think, or Western Springs Little League for parking. So I'm feeling like the application for the softball field isn't complete because parking's not been addressed. But I don't know if that's, again, in our purview. to say this is an incomplete thought. It feels like an incomplete thought. I'm saying nothing about whether or not we should have a softball field,
Yep.
but if we're going to drive traffic to that corner, I don't know if we've completed the conversation on what might be needed.
Yeah, because parking and public safety are within what we consider. Is this something we have the applicant
Yeah,
discuss?
I
Yeah.
think the applicant could address.
I'm sure this is
parking.
something that the park and the Little League have discussed, the parking. Can somebody come and provide us the thoughts on the parking?
Please come to the podium, though, with the microphone should be on.
Yeah, so Tom Oak, I'm the current president of Western Springs Little League. In terms of parking, yes, the Park District did a study back when they put the pickleball field in that essentially, I'll use the word approved for lack of a better word, the number of parking spots for the usage of the entire park. By building a softball field, we're just reallocating what's being used there. So right now, it plays soccer only. We're just adding softball to this thing. So it's not like it's adding onto the park, we're not, so we'd be adding capacity to it. We're just essentially swapping capacity. Now, more parking is always better, but the study we've had shows that, parking has been sufficient. And last year, I can only think of one person that complained to me personally through the Western Spring Little League channels about parking, and that was after the first day, and we kind of continually remind people of all the different parking spots throughout Western Springs, but really throughout Spring Rock and the Burlington Northern Line and the pass-through over to by Tropical Snow, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hillgrove Avenue.
Is there signage in the park, and I should know since I live over there, that directs us to that additional parking on the other side? Like, to walk through the underpass? It is really a new
I don't know if there's
feature.
actual signage. I don't think so.
No.
But we could look into that. But we do leverage all of our social media email distribution lists to say like, hey, if you're playing on what are the current softball fields and what we call Matt Orth Field, which would be the fields furthest east, that you can leverage the up top parking. If you're playing in the A-ball field or what's called B West right now, which are the fields that are currently, more on the west side, that you can park down below, and that pickleball is kind of pickleball. And then for any overflow for either of those, if you park along the Burlington Northern, where the daily commuter spots, you can kind of access all the fields.
Anybody have other questions about the parking?
The only comment I'd make is, just to be clear, there is no use of whatever that grass and gravel area is, right? That's not going to be available to anybody to drive on, right? On the other side of the pavilion there? Is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about?
as far as I know, that's been gated off.
Yeah.
So I don't know who controls the gate. I think the Park District does.
Yeah, but we're not going to use that. And I think that was clear, at least I read in the
Yeah.
transcript, so just confirming that. So if there is a capacity for the park, and we have enough parking spots for the park, and people have to walk a little bit farther, I'm not super concerned, but it did seem to me like you were taking an area that didn't get a lot of use in that corner from soccer or whatever, and increasing the use. But if we're still in Spring Rock parking capacity, if that's an analysis, then I don't have an objection. I just haven't seen that analysis. So I'd leave that to the Park District, I guess. I mean, if someone's going to have to pay for it, it's going to have to be them, right?
A little bit to that 2024 analysis. So the applicant did resubmit that with this application. It wasn't their initial materials. So at the time the analysis was done, it showed that there were 290 spots available throughout Spring Rock Park. With the pickleball courts, they reconfigured the parking next to the pickleball court for a net increase of 13 spaces. And then they reconfigured the administrative parking lot to add an additional 3 spaces. And then as part of that condition of the approval ordinance for the pickleball courts, it was stipulated that there will be 7 land-based parking spaces, that if there were complaints about parking or a need for additional parking, that those land-based spaces would be converted to physical parking spaces.
Is there any merit to adding this softball field to that land bank concept, or can we not do that?
I will allow Attorney Skrotsky to answer that.
Well, at this point, because it was not in the application or noticed as part of the relief, I'm not sure that the land bank concept, I mean, I'm sure you could put an additional modification or condition on the approval, but I'm not sure that we have a good grounding in, or understanding about what that would be, what that would look like.
Right, okay. I mean, I guess as long as we feel it's safe enough, right? That's really where our threshold ends, right?
And again, relying on what we've heard from staff so far, I think we're comfortable with the request and with the study and analysis that we have.
Yes, staff original recommendation to the Plan Commission included some recommended conditions. One of those was that those land bank stalls be provided. The Plan Commission did discuss that at their meeting in October, and they decided not to continue or recommend that as a condition of approval, and staff did not maintain their recommendation following that meeting.
Okay. Thanks for bringing it up. Anybody else have questions about the parking? Anything?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, Trustee Mark. That was my only question, too.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from staff? Okay. Thank you. Okay, any other questions, topics regarding the fields themselves? Again, it sounds like the conditions otherwise, the floodplain, parking, two of our main issues. Okay, Trustee Fink? All right.
So he's already made a
Motion.
motion, and we have a second from
Okay.
Trustee Avakian, so then it's a roll call.
Okay.
Is this final action on that?
This is
Final action.
On the field.
On the softball field.
Yep. Okay, yeah. Anything else? No. Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rowe. Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Trustee Avakian.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Sorry. The next piece of this is for the signage, and since the last meeting, we, as a staff, provided all the background information again to the full village board, all the links. I hope you've had a chance to review those things. In going through those, it became clear that it might be important for you to have some time with Village Attorney Mike Jerusik, who handled the case back in 2023 when it came through. Most of the questions that I received from board members were related to kind of the original approval. So Attorney Jerusik is here with us tonight, and he can go through just an overview of 2023's approval and how we got through that item, as well as kind of the lead-in that Attorney Skrodsky may be able to provide any additional background information that you might need.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of material, so we'd appreciate some of the cliff notes. So-
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Mike Jerusik, Village Attorney. It's been a while. Good to see everybody. Happy holidays. I know that there is a lot of material and there's a long history of this, so let's keep, the recap, 30,000 feet. 2023, Park District and Little League co-sponsor an application to take down a couple signs and build what we call the championship sign. The championship sign had a couple purposes. The primary purpose was a scoreboard, and then some championship designations, for the kids that win, Little League titles. There was an area on the championship sign, couple areas, that they were going to have sponsorship designations to help pay for the sign. That all got approved, through the normal zoning process. Your plan commission, after a public hearing, public notice, made a recommendation to the board. Your predecessors voted in 2023 to approve the sign, subject to some conditions. What was the approval? It was an amendment to a conditional use. So, everything that gets built out there to comply with our zoning goes through a conditional use process, the Park District improvements. So they amend their approval over time. That's the mechanism. And it's important for us to take a couple steps back and realize, what are you really dealing with tonight? You're really talking about an amendment to an amendment. In 2023, you amended the conditional use permit to allow this sign to exist. It's very important that you recall that the public record is very clear. The sign was presented, engineered, designed as a one-sided sign. So we need to be clear about that. And what the application is tonight is to amend that to make it a two-sided sign. It's important to also realize that the approval in 2023 by the board was to approve a one-sided sign, and that there would be no expansion of that sign, and that was very important. A couple other things that are important to factor in. When you approve zoning, when you approve an amendment to a conditional use, there's a handful of conditional use standards that have to be met. And what's important about that is that's your zoning, that's your zoning authority as the corporate authority, as the village board. I know in prior public comment, there has been conversations about, this amendment to the sign needs to be done for fundraising purposes, for revenue stream, to help, the community and the kids. That's not an appropriate consideration or factor for you to decide. If there's a simple axiom, it's you can't buy zoning. That's Illinois law. So you can't consider, that type of consideration when you're coming to this decision-making process. What you really have to look at is your code. What does your conditional use regulations provide? What does our zoning code provide? And it's very clear, our zoning code says billboards are prohibited in all zoning districts. So you have to look at this sign. The face of the sign that got approved in 2023, it's not a billboard. It's a scoreboard. It's a championship sign. It has some, sponsorship components to it. But it's clearly not a billboard. It is what it was designed to be and what was approved. The back side of this, sign, as proposed, as built, as, Little League wants to use it, is really akin to a billboard. That's what their petition, that's what their thrust has been, and those are prohibited in the village. The Park District has already received an opinion from me when they went to try to install a billboard in Spring Rock Park along the tollway, right? And we went through this process with them a number of years ago where that billboard was not going to be allowed. It was, intended for, revenue purposes. It, wasn't compliant with the village code's prohibition on billboards. It also, that proposed billboard out near 294 was, it wouldn't comply with the state has a billboard act that regulates billboards that run up and down interstates. So, we've had that conversation about billboards with the Park District in the past. So I think you need to view that, through that lens, that billboards are prohibited. Also, off-premise advertising signs, are not allowed. And so, I think you need to review this application. You need to really look at kind of what is the signage that the Park District is looking for, the signage that the Little League is looking for. How can it conform to the 23 approval? How can it conform to, the no billboard, no off-premise commercial advertising signage? And so, those are kind of just things that I want to put, in front of you as from a legal perspective. Your job is to decide the zoning, not to decide fundraising or use of funds, by the Park District or Little League. It's really to focus on the zoning criteria and also to decide whether to follow the decision of your predecessors when they approved the 2023 zoning approval to allow a one-sided championship scoreboard sign with some limited sponsorships on that one side.
So in particular, then, when something is defined as a billboard, that suggests the total square footage of an actual advertiser or entity. So what I'm getting at is the entire backside of the sign versus if the sign is divided up into smaller pieces. Kind of what constitutes a billboard?
Well, and if you drive anywhere around Chicago metropolitan area, it's clear that you can have single copy billboards, but you can also have, a lot of times with franchising restaurants, you can have a mixed, a billboard that can be broken up into, say two sponsors, two vendors, two businesses. But our billboard definition is a single or double-sided sign permanently erected on the premises, including changeable copy sign used for display of information not associated with the establishment located on the same premises as such sign. That's what our billboard definition is. I don't know if that helps, but
Okay.
that's the definition we're looking, that you're looking at. You know, you also have sponsorship signs, right, at the baseball field, on the fence, you know, in the outfield. You know, those are things that, you know, again, technically, when you read our code and you talk about off-site advertising, you know, not being allowed, you know, the question is, do you really need to look at your sign code maybe a little closer and try to bring forward maybe some signage regulations that make sense for, you know, the community, make sense for Park District property, that makes sense for Park District users. And maybe, you know, maybe our sign code and our zoning code, you know, maybe we need to look at that through that prism a little bit before you make a decision on changing your predecessor's prior decision in 2023 to approve a single-sided scoreboard / championship sign. You know, maybe more discussion has to be had on your signage regulations in order to maybe do this request, provide it with a little more context and a little more discretion.
Sir, could you explain that? I'm seeing the sponsorship signs on one side. So why can't you have this, like, is it the size of the sign that makes it why can't you have the same sign on the back?
Well, because my understanding is the back side is designed to be a sponsorship sign. The intended approved side is a scoreboard and a championship sign. Everything, I went through the zoning process, and you know, it's very clear to me, you know, the application and the engineering and the architectural work on the sign, it's very clear. It's a big scoreboard. The application submitted by Little League and the Park District clearly says that the sponsorship signage would come off the board as additional championships were won, that the intent of this sign was to be scoreboard, championship sign, and that the funding mechanism to build this sign was the initial sponsorships that were going to go up, but that those would come down as additional championships were won. If all you do is take the back side of the sign and turn it into a commercial billboard, then that's not a championship sign, that's not a scoreboard, that's something entirely different than what was presented in 2023, and it's something that's not allowed under your current zoning code, because billboards are prohibited.
And the off-site advertising.
And the off-site advertising, correct.
Like that would set a new precedent in the village, correct?
Yes.
Like if we did that.
Yeah.
But the banners that are on the fence are not considered billboards?
They're not considered billboards, but they are, you know, I think, I certainly can get to a very warm, comfortable feeling that they are off-site commercial advertising. And again, that's where I think, you know, those have been, you know, up there for a while, season after season. I think you need to take a look at how things are regulated. You know, the banners at field level, right, affixed to the fence, those are typically inward facing to you know, the field and to the, you know, the stadium and the bleachers and the public watching. You start putting, you know, signs at elevation, right? And I saw somewhere in the public record it talked about this, you know, one of the benefits of the backside of this proposed sign is that you could market to Metro riders. You know, again, that screams billboard, right? Not allowed. You know, I think the signage on the fence that is within the field that's oriented to the, you know, the spectators, you know, I think you can make a case for maybe amending our code to treat that differently.
And do those come off seasonally?
That would be a question for the Park District.
They're year-round, or they come off during the season?
They're talking about banner signs.
The banners around the field?
Yeah.
They come off during the off-season. They usually go up in the early April, come off, I think I got them down the end of July this year.
So they're for the season?
Yeah.
Seasonal signs.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is something we don't have defined in our code right now.
Sorry.
Yeah, so those are clearly seasonal signage and something we don't have a definition for,
Right.
but that would maybe be a great way to define those and build a regulation that would permit those, provided that they're, at grade, they're not elevated, they're not, they're not reaching an audience that's, beyond, the current playing field and the attendees at the game. Because again, the public record that I saw most recently and back in '23 when I worked with the village on this project was residents who live adjacent to the perimeter of the park did not want to see signage, right, from their front window and from public rights of way and sidewalks. They didn't want to change the look and the feel of the park with a bunch of commercial signage.
Yeah, I saw there were a lot of questions about the seasonality, like through the duration of the Plan Commission meeting, of whether or not this would be seasonal or not. Okay.
And that would be seasonal type signage, could be an exception to your prohibition on off-site commercial advertising signage, not billboards, but, things
Well, those kind of
that-
banners too
And-
those are quite common in baseball fields, right?
Correct.
I mean, I
Yep.
think most people even come to expect that that's what they're going to see at the field. So those to me seem pretty typical. But I understand
Correct.
what you're saying is that we're not really clear about that that's allowed and what defines that. So that's kind of an example for me of a lot of things that are a little bit unclear about signage. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to dominate the questions here. Trustee Lewis?
It's not really a question, just, I'm not big on advertising in the parks. And the advertisements on the north side of that championship board is a bridge too far for me.
Gotcha.
President Rudolph, I had the, fortune of reading all about the last few years in one sitting, since I'm new to the board and new to the conversation. I think you referred to it as the creep that we didn't want back in 2023, which is in the transcript, and I think we're living the creep on this sign. For all the reading I did, we never admonished the developer, we never fined them. We just accommodated this sign that went up overnight without a permit and approval. And I think we've done a really nice job trying to work with the Park District and the Baseball League to try and hear their needs. But I don't think we're being heard. I think that, Heidi, you're right. I think we are a little too loose in our guidance. I think there might be something special about parks, to be fair. I think I hear the demand, I hear the requirements, but I don't hear the thought in a comprehensive plan except for Little League. Like the Planning Commission went through an inventory of the Little League signs, but no one ever said, so are we going to offer all this to AYSO? I mean, if you told the dog park people that they could put up a billboard to pay for the dog park, don't you think we'd have a dog park by now? So I'm not sure if we're giving enough guidance. And I think we kind of have to revisit this to say, we're getting the unintended consequences of what we did in the past. I'm sorry to say that, but we tried to give enough guidance to say no creep, but this is the creep. So I think we have to do something differently. I don't want to ask these very nice people to keep coming back to our meetings. I think we can ask ourselves and our commission and the Park District to do some more work, to give real guidance of what are we willing to do to help with the issue of the development of the parks. I think if they want to ask us that question, then we as a board can consider that question, but I'm not comfortable opining on this one sign and then trying to build a comprehensive plan around signs that went up without a lot of thought to much of anything but fundraising.
Yeah. No, I was concerned too as I read through it, wondering whether other nonprofits like the theater or the pool, right, if they too might want to do something with their signage that would be kind of similar in request. And we could find ourselves in a position where we just have to keep coming in and talking about each one of the requests and have to address it. My preference, I'd like to see more of a comprehensive plan, but I'd like to hear from others too. Trustee Chen?
I agree. But I would note that the park is a taxpayer-funded public utility. It's not to be sold to the highest bidder and the fundraisers. the beauty of going to a park is that I paid for it. Those are my tax dollars, and I also get to enjoy it. So I hear the fundraising. My kids all played Little League. I'm all for it, but I am concerned, and I agree with everything said here, that where will it end? Like, we just need to get some guidance on the ordinance side. And, you know, the theater, those are like, you know, nonprofits. The park is a public space.
But the Little League is.
The Little League is a user of the park, and I'm all for it, but other people use the park as well. So I am not a fan of any more advertising in the public, in the park.
I think the other thing I just want to point out is when we think about multiple users of the park, I would like us to give some guidance to no one entity gets to dominate the park visual space. There's only limited visual space when you really take into consideration what we're trying to accomplish, right? Which is not have our sky littered with billboards. So in the aggregate, no one organization should own the available advertising space in any one park. We haven't thought about that either. I think there's more work to do that asking people if they are offended about individual pieces of signs, I don't think is the right process here.
Trustee Fink?
I guess I'm the only one as a fan of the signs. I see the difference is the sign is already up there, and they just want to utilize the other half. I think that, me personally, I think the sponsorships that are on there are too large, but I think if you cut it in half and we make it 2 sponsorships to 4, that's more palatable. And I guess that's the difference I see, is the sign's already up, and we're just making good use of our space.
We are so nice. I really think that sign should have come down 2 years ago.
Trustee Lewis?
The Little League sign facing the infield, the field, make some sense to me. But tying it to Little League and having it facing the other way doesn't work for me. So again, you can kind of see the banners in the outfield, that's Little League baseball, but putting something on the north side of that sign is just advertising, not related to baseball. So,
Trustee Naraki, any?
I think it's more the comprehensive overview, right? We have one sign with advertising, how does it go from there? I was talking to Director Valente about, and what if pickleball put up the same sign to block Little League site, right? And then we have a Wrigley Field situation because they have space and they could do that. So now you've lost the fundraising aspect of that. So I think thinking about how our parks would use this as an overall idea would be a better thing. So I think talking about it more and figuring that out would make some sense.
Trustee Avakian?
I agree that the 2 were too big. I think when people called and said, that's where you can like drive by the train, I agree with that. I feel like that looks like a billboard, it acts like a billboard. I think when they had the 6-hour meeting through the planning commission, and we had a 4-hour meeting through our commission, the kind of the happy middle place was like the 6 signs or the 4 signs that weren't as billboardy and were more kind of in, I know the other one was 9, but I'm like, we're talking about inches here, right? So at what point, I guess that was my question, like when does it change from a billboard to a sign? I mean, I don't know if that makes sense, but I feel like we were kind of in an agreement that we want, I know we weren't supposed to think about it as a sponsorship thing, but we were appreciating that, it's hard to raise money. And if this was a great avenue for raising money, then we should respect that. And there was a lot of people from the village here that were for it. One guy was here that was against it. I know people don't come to meetings a lot, but they did. And I think there's something to be said for that. I think the banners are cute. I mean, I haven't been in a baseball field for a long time because my kids are old now, but I used to like it. Again, I think the thing split in half was too big. I said it before. I thought the other way was a compromise.
For what it's worth, just rereading, because I wasn't in any of these commission meetings, and I give yeoman's effort to the people who have tried to go through this. It read as rushed. It read that it wasn't listening to all of the commissioners and their concerns as the conversation went through. That's how it read. I don't know how the room felt, but it didn't feel like a happy medium. It felt like a railroading.
Well, I felt like there were a lot of questions too about other signs, and that there weren't the answers. They weren't prepared with all of the answers about all of the signs too, which again, to me, everything has unintended consequences, and this just, to me, has brought the entire issue of signs in all of the parks to my attention. And I'm sorry for everybody who's spent a lot of time on this, and a lot of people have come and shared their perspective on it, but that's just really helped me to understand how unclear this is, that we need to have better standards, and we need to have better clarity. And it might be that we get to a point where the 4 signs or 6 signs on the back are okay. I'm not ruling that out. I would just like to have it be, I'd like to understand a bigger plan. And I think because this is the off-season, that maybe this gives us the opportunity to just look at it a little bit deeper, like you suggested, Trustee Naraki, that we can take a little bit more time. Again, I know people have already spent so much time, and I am sympathetic to that. But we have to do the right thing, I think, for the long term, and for all the different users of the parks. I mean, we have AYSO, as you mentioned, we have tennis, we have significant tennis presence, hockey, lacrosse, and a lot of great parks. And I'd just like to, maybe we can work together, we can work together with the park to come up with some standards that we could all agree to. Is that something process-wise that we can do? How would we do that from a process standpoint?
Yeah, from a process standpoint, I think getting there it's important from the standpoint of uniformity. You know, how you deal with, you know, the Little League, park signage is going to be what the expectations are for, as you said, President Rudolph, the pool or the theater. And so you got to have uniformity, right, to have validity in your zoning code, uniform treatment, with exceptions where exceptions are appropriate. In your village code, dealing with an issue like this, you have 3 options. You can vote to approve the matter as presented with conditions. You could vote to deny it. Or you could, you have this option, vote to remand the petition back to the Plan Commission for further proceedings. And in that motion, you can also provide direction as to what type of guidance or directive you'd like to see them investigate more or explore more. So you have 3 options: approve, deny, or remand for further proceedings, further consideration back to your Plan Commission.
Okay. Can we all? Yeah.
Hi. Naki with the Park District, Executive Director. What I would recommend at this point is exactly what you're talking about. Let's work through a process together. When we looked at what the committee recommended, we thought that was a pretty good process, and it took a lot of work. So when you're going to carve those 2 big signs on the north side down to 4 or more, that is acceptable to the Park District. But if you want further process on this and working together, we stand behind that process. And I would encourage you, at least at this point, to delay it. Let's go on, let's work together and get something so that it's acceptable to the Park District and to our key partners, whether that be AYSO, Little League, and I'm sure we're going to have a big pickleball contingent as well. So I think that's probably the best thing at this point, rather than try to veto it. Everybody was pretty happy with what was recommended by your committee. And I know when I do the same thing in our process, if the committee works on something and gives us a recommendation, we usually listen to that. There are exceptions, I understand. So let's go back, let's, reprocess and see what we can come up with so that it's acceptable to everybody. Okay.
Thank you all.
Did the committee have the same preview of what had happened in 2023?
There was recap provided. Kelsey, do you want to address that?
Yes, within the Plan Commission staff report, there was a summary of the previous conditional use permit amendments that went through at the Park District. And sorry, one moment, I just want to confirm. There was additional information provided from the 2023 application, but the memo did indicate the previous conditional use permit for the sign.
We did not provide the minutes as taken by the court reporter, though.
Correct.
At that time. Although I will say, I believe everyone who's on the Plan Commission now would have been on Plan Commission as well in 2023.
Got it. Yep.
If we take the third route, because I actually disagree with the Plan Commission and their 6 standards. I don't think they met 2 of the standards when they approved this. And I, of course, respect all of the work of my co-trustees, but I don't mean to belittle what has been done, but there can be disagreement among people. If we do the third option, what are we going to be looking to do this, like, evaluation of our code to see before it goes back through Plan Commission? Because if I disagree with Plan Commission now and it goes back to them, is it just going to do the same thing?
If I may, what I was hoping for is a actual inventory of signage by park, a list of users, partners of the park, and put those together with what are their objectives for fundraising and projects. I heard a lot in the transcripts from, like, Little League has future projects in mind.
Yep.
What is that? What are those? Where do they want to go, these important partners? And where do signs fall into that? That whole conversation, I think, can be had. It's going to take a little bit of planning and a little bit of sharing of what inside baseball, what they're looking to do, but you know, I think that's the collaboration that isn't happening right now to understand their needs, their objectives, because they want to improve the parks. Awesome, right? Great. But within what reason, right?
So procedurally, I think we're asking kind of what's the procedural?
And I can comment a little bit on that. With a remand, you can give direction to the Plan Commission regarding what you would like to see from them. So for example, if you say there were 2 standards that I'd like to be examined a little bit more fully, so that I can understand a little bit more how you think that this meets them, that's perfectly fine direction to give.
Okay.
Another example from what I've heard, the direction could include, and it sounds like it may be ripe to include, a comprehensive sign plan.
Okay.
So whether you want to give the direction for a comprehensive sign plan for Spring Rock or for a comprehensive sign plan for village parks in general, that's something that that's direction that you would be able to give.
Okay.
So, and then they would take that direction that you're expressing now, and they would take that and use that to frame their additional work.
So it doesn't just go back to the Plan Commission as is.
Okay.
So the
Right.
next step would be suggestion, which would be staff and Park District together coming up with a new recommendation, but that would be this comprehensive, I'm going to say the word comprehensive because a lot of people have said it.
Well said.
A comprehensive plan that we would all agree to. And that then, I shouldn't use the word agree at this point, a recommendation from the park and staff, then they would take that to the Plan Commission.
Would that be something like the banners on the inside of a fence are okay? The squares on the backside of a sign taller than 3 feet have to be whatever inches by whatever inches? So it was like that specific?
And that every user of the park gets X amount of square footage. Like right now, we might say we have 1 user that has more. If the others want to have it, they could, but if they choose not to, that could be part of it too. But getting into that, I think that's the way I interpret.
I think I would just note that, as Director Nacke said, though, we would like to have the park board review all of those things with their staff after we come to some kind of a recommendation, so that whatever comes back through the Plan Commission is something that we know that the Park District staff and the Park District board are also fully endorsing or are comfortable with, just so that we don't get through a whole process and find out it doesn't meet those needs.
I think the parks specifically need to answer the question of what's a billboard in a park.
And then just one follow-up would be, what would come back from the Plan Commission? It could be zoning code amendments, right? That are consistent with whatever comprehensive signage plan is recommended. It would be probably a set of, we call it the DCO, Development Control Ordinance. Your zoning code would have probably certain proposed amendments. You would have, our signage code is in our building code, right? So it'd be Title IX. But you could have zoning code amendments because we do have some definitions in zoning code. It would be Title IX building code amendments. And then the Little League / Park District application, as it sits now, that wouldn't go away. That would still percolate and would be considered down below by the Plan Commission. And that application may get amended. It may come back to you in a different form that complies with the proposed zoning and text amendments to your code, and then they'd be able to two-track the approval. So if there were code amendments to the signage regulations that were acceptable to the board, that this proposal, their application, as long as it dovetails into those amendments, that all could be taken at the same time when it comes back to you. And so there'd be some efficiencies there where, the Park District and the Little League's application wouldn't be sidetracked. It would come along with these proposed code amendments and could be dealt with, after the code amendments were approved by the board, then their application could be revisited for a final consideration.
Well, that makes sense to me, and my goal would be then too, that we would be in a situation where any future park interest or user group wouldn't have to come for a conditional use permit or an amendment, because we would have guidance that's clear that they could follow.
Right.
And then we wouldn't, because the way this is right now, if we were to approve the original motion, that's for one specific use and one user, and we would have to come back again next year or 2 years or whatever. But I think this route number 3 gets us to a position where we wouldn't have to do that. So for all the time if it's any consolation for the time that's been put into this, I hear us, and I don't know if there's full consensus on the board.
I have a little concern that we're going to go through this and we're encouraging more advertising in the park by more organizations and more places by establishing. I wish we had let sleeping dogs lie. But this issue is before us now, so yeah, maybe a comprehensive approach, but.
Well, we get
I could
into
see where-
questions of seasonality too, right? Are things up for the season, like the banners for Little League are up? I take your point. I think
That's a good point.
But I'm okay with the approach, but I fear that.
that could be a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was public comment in the 2023 Plan Commission. A resident asked the question of, with the sign that went up, of what does this mean for the parks in 10 to 20 years? Like, where are we going with this? So.
Right, and I'm wondering if we say no to using the north side of the championship sign, which is kind of the question before us, I believe. Part of the question before us.
It's part of the question before us.
That we could address that and still open up a longer term. But make it clear that we don't want the big signs on the north side of the championship sign.
You'd like to take action on that tonight?
If the votes were there.
If we could. I was going to ask, if we go back and we do this process, we work with the Park District, what will happen to the back of the sign? It's currently tarped. I'm just saying, so if this board wants to take action on that part of this, and then we still get to do all this other, I'm okay with banners during the season, and I guess, but I think that part is different.
I have a quick question on the championship sign. Is that, it was funded by the Little League, it was purchased by the Little League. Is it the Little League, or is it then gifted to the Park District? Like who
owns
sign
it?
is? Yes.
And maintains it?
Yes.
The Little League, right?
I don't think they can own property.
Well, they don't own the property that it's on.
Property, so
Okay,
it's
so
like a
it's,
leasehold improvement, I'm assuming.
so it's owned by the. it's a
Only if
park
they can
district
take it
thing.
with them. Does it have any value to them, right?
Right.
Otherwise, they've invested into the park and it's not going anywhere.
We maintain it, such as like we maintain the fields.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so we maintain that sign as we maintain the fields and we maintain the batting cages we put in, and we both in the softball field centers, so we do all the maintenance of it. I don't know how it's structured, whether it's a gift or whatever, but
Yeah.
that's, we're the ones, Western Springs Little League is the one who maintains all that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to make a motion to send the whole thing back, but you bring up to remand it all back to the commission on the signs. But you bring up a good point of whether or not we should just definitively send the message about the backside of that sign tonight. Because none of our prior softer messages are really
But there's
sticking.
2 points of the backs of the sign. It's, isn't it? It's part of the bigger question of signage that is
Mhm.
allowed or not and how big it would be.
Mhm.
Then there's also the question of the current state of the sign and the tarping,
Mhm.
right? Aren't
Mhm.
those 2 different things?
I guess so.
Well, it's not in compliance.
It's not in
It is.
compliance,
It's not in
right.
compliance.
So
It was, right. The guidance, or the ordinance was not followed.
But if I understand right, there's other signs that also we were going to add into this that are not compliant as well. Is that right? Western Springs Little League signs?
So there are 3 scoreboards on the property that have, one of them has sponsorship above it as well, and 2 have sponsorship below it. Those are not stipulated within our residential requirements. They exceed the 6-foot-high sign, so those are considered in the part of the relief as well.
Kind of feel like if we're going to do one, we should do them, you know. I get it, that's the application in front of us, is the one sign. But what came from the commission as an inventory of all Little League signs, tick, 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 okay, 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 and I think we're trying to say, not okay.
I guess I don't see any need to take down any other Little League signs. I think we've been,
I don't want to build a plan around the existing signs. I want to think
Right.
long and hard about the right way to manage our parks and
but if they're up there
advertising.
anyways, I think we can leave them up there until we come up with this. It seems silly just to take it down, just to remand it and say, oh, hey.
It seems
we
super
can-
silly to put
we
it up
can put
without
it
a
up.
permit, too.
Well, it depends, I guess we're talking which one we're talking about, the backs one or the other
All was
existing
done
signs?
without permission. Everything about this sign has been done without permission.
This
As
one,
far as
I'm talking the other signs, like the other,
The ones that Kelsey just
the
mentioned.
Kelsey just, but they have been there for maybe years.
Yeah, but if we have to remedy those, why wouldn't we remedy them all together, is I guess my point. Unless you want to just focus on the one sign that has an application in front of us.
I'd like to focus on the one that has an application in front of us. rather
And I'm
than
fine with
muddy
that,
it up.
too.
I'm okay
I'm
with
just,
that.
I'm just saying, it's not that other signs are all
That then
okey-dokey.
falls into the comprehensive
Right.
sign.
Got it.
The staff can certainly take a look at all of these things as we move through the process with the Park District staff over the coming months.
Okay.
I mean, we have this code for the whole village, not just the park. I mean, do we want everybody to be able to put up signs everywhere? I mean, we have a code for a reason, so it's not
The
just the
churches are going
parks.
to pay attention.
I mean,
everyone who's trying
everybody-
to raise money is going to pay attention.
Yeah, so it's an important point.
Yeah, and it's a precedent
Mhm.
issue. I mean, it seems like it's a small issue, but it's a bigger
Yes.
issue. Again, it's brought to my attention just lots of questions,
Yeah.
not a lot of answers.
And it goes to the character of our town, and if this is something that we want to have.
All I think about driving in the other towns as I've been shopping since this came up is billboard, billboard, billboard. And you can tell the difference when you're
Yeah.
moving town to town. The McDonald's is, shorter, taller,
Yeah.
et cetera. Each town has their view of how they're going to manage this.
Right, yeah.
So if we're all agreeing to make regulations for all future signs in the world of all the parks and all the partners, I guess what you guys are suggesting, and I might be agreeing with, is just say, we'll answer everyone at the same time.
Right. Certainly keeps the conversation, I feel like, in the right venue, which is with the Park District. So let's the Park District and us have one conversation so that they can operate the parks the way they want to operate the parks.
Okay. Trustee Chen, are you comfortable with the option 3 of this being remanded back, but with further discussion between the park and the village?
Do we have to develop that direction back tonight?
Yeah, how specific do we have to be from a procedure standpoint?
You need to be conceptually specific only, not specifically
Oh, okay.
specific. So you can say things like, we'd like to see a comprehensive plan that includes the key stakeholders and all of the parks. You can say something like, Trustee Lewis, what I'm hearing from you is, I'd like to see an examination of whether commercial speech should be even more limited than it currently is. Trustee Martin, I hear from you that you might want to see something regarding grandfathering and whether the existing signage should be used as the benchmark. How do we think about it? So there's a number of things that just you've already expressed in terms of direction, and if this did get remanded back to Plan Commission, we'd sort of pull and assemble a transcript of everything that we've discussed here tonight and present that as the guidance. So if a motion was made to remand with direction, then you'd all get a chance to say, like, kind of at that point as well, anything that you want to put on the pile, but you've already got a good one started.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And the other choice is just saying, no, we're going to get back to everyone together.
So the other choices would be to approve the as proposed, which would grant them the 4 signs on the back instead of 2, and the other conditions that are in the proposed ordinance. So it's no illumination, no obscenity, there's a couple other conditions there. So you could approve that as presented in the ordinance, you could deny that as presented in the ordinance, you could remand back for further examination and guidance with direction that this is where you wanted to maybe see it go.
Well, it sounds like there's definitely not enough. You have to have like 5 out of 7 say yes, right?
For
it to
I'm sorry,
pass?
for what?
For it to-
Majority.
So I don't think we're going to get a yes majority, just from reading the room. So we're just deciding between no or we'll get back to you later. Is that correct-ish? Does everyone sort of agree with that?
No or remand.
Yeah, right, well, yes, but that's what I'm, get back to you later.
Yeah, I think your read of the room is correct. Yes.
All right, so there will be no action taken on the back of the sign tonight if we do the remand with conditions. And it will
Correct,
remain tarped.
it would
Will
maintain
remain.
the status quo, which at this point is tarped.
We remain tarped. Yep.
I'm okay with
Okay.
that. I'm ready to make a motion if.
Trustee Fink?
Yeah, no,
Okay. Okay. Yes?
Point of clarification?
Sure.
So we kick off our registration today for next season, which kicks off like the sponsorships, like for the banners, the seasonal banners. Are those part of the
That's a great question.
remanded back to us? Like, should we pause all that, I guess, is what I'm saying, so that we don't collect money, we don't solicit that, we burn half our budget, et cetera, like, just.
Can we vote
like-
now that the seasonal banners on the fence are okay?
Well, I would say, I would just comment that the seasonal banners, we did not have them taken down last year. So the status quo is that the seasonal banners are okay for now. Because
There's no enforcement on the
Right, that
seasonal
there's no
banners,
enforcement.
not that they're okay.
Right, that there's no enforcement on removal of the seasonal banners while anything is pending.
It's a very good question. Thank you for raising
Yes.
that. And I mean, I want us to be doing things properly, but I don't want them to have to not have these banners or to
Well,
wait.
Could we vote on, we approve
That's
one
what I'm
season
saying, can we
worth?
just approve the seasonal banners?
Or-
I don't think you'd need
For
to
1
do
year?
We're
that
saying we don't
tonight.
need to.
I think status,
So
just
go
keep
ahead,
going,
with-
'cause
so
we're not
you
really
can tell them,
talking
go
about
ahead with
that.
the seasonal
status
banners.
quo would allow for that, and then whatever we put into place as a board, you could say, goes into effect beginning at a certain date, or you could direct those to be allowed until the end of the season. You'll have that opportunity later if for some reason you didn't like the banners. And I'm not hearing that from the board, but if for some reason you wanted to limit something that could be, you have the ability to put the timing in your approvals in the future.
Okay, yeah, I do not want them to have to change that, especially where we are, and it has been the status quo. Okay. Okay, so everybody's clear on that.
Okay, yes.
Okay. All right, so then I think we are in agreement of option 3. And then how do we do, Trustee Martin can make a motion on that?
Yeah.
Sure.
And she can talk about the
that
as
okay?
discussed? Is that how she's framing the direction?
Sure, why don't you go ahead and I'll help you.
Sounds great.
Okay.
So I'm going to move to remand the Western Springs Little League, the second part of the Western Springs Little League application for the amendment of the conditional use permit regarding their sign plan to the Plan Commission for reconsideration of a comprehensive sign plan in the parks. Is that right?
Sure, yeah, that's a good place to start. And then I'm assuming you also want to give direction.
I would like to know, I would like an inventory, I'd like them to specifically look at the inventory of existing signs, the signs that have been used historically, the users of the park and what signs they might want in the future.
Great.
That, I guess, am I?
Trustee Lewis or Trustee Chen, is there anything that we haven't discussed? Because I think what I heard Attorney Skrotsky say too is that our entire transcript already discussed counts as part of the direction too.
Well,
I guess I would-
let's get a second to
No,
her
okay.
motion, and then we can
I'll
discuss
second.
and add to the direction.
Okay,
Perfect.
sorry. Trustee Lewis seconded.
Great.
I might like to add the direction could include instructions to have the advertising face the ball field, the field of play, whether it's soccer or baseball.
Okay.
Advertising specific to the user, for those users and
That-
their community. Yeah.
That'd be part of the consideration and part of the comprehensive plan. Would that be a factor in it?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Like that.
maybe the level of the signage,
Height and size
height and
requirement.
size, which we already have in our code, but
And
just to be clear.
Well, but
And
to
not-
revisit it, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there's some things that we would change.
Okay, yes.
And 9 squares stacked is one sign. It's not 9 signs. 9 squares stacked together that cannot be moved is one sign.
Well, so you want more definition
I
around.
want more definition, because the
Rather than
Champions
that-
Wall is not 9 squares, it's not 2 squares, it's one sign.
Again, rather than that specificity, we're looking at just clear guidance on what constitutes a
Yes.
sign and the size.
The transcript historically had talked about why do you care about the separation, the spacing on the fences and so forth, but, so I just want to make sure that
Okay.
I care about 9 stacked cubes together, that's one sign.
Okay, okay. Anyone else? I mean, again, the transcript covers the thing. Have we covered it all?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, okay? Again, the motion is to remand it back to the Plan
Second,
Commission, but in between, it will be the Park District and staff will work on this recommendation that would then go to the Plan Commission. And to me, it's a good thing that we're in the off-season, that we have a bit of time that we can do that. Okay, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, President Rudolph. Trustee Avakian.
I'm just saying aye to the remanding? Is that?
Yes.
Aye.
Trustee Chen.
Aye.
Trustee Fink.
Aye.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Trustee Naraki.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you very much for that discussion. Thank you for all of you who have attended and sat through this with us. All right. Moving on to our next agenda point. Those are get to our reports, beginning with the monthly financial report.
Which
Trustee
we
Martin.
do not have this evening.
Okay, thank you. I also do not have a report, but do want to, and I'm sure Manager Bear will do this too, but I do want to thank the Public Works team and all the work that went into, we've had water main breaks and a lot of snow and leaves that were on the streets. So kind of everything that could happen over a holiday weekend did happen. And granted, I spent a lot of time inside my house watching football, but I thought things were handled quite well, given that confluence of weather. mostly the leaves adding to that. So a big shout out to the team and the hard work. Director Supert, if you can please pass that on.
I absolutely will. They always appreciate that, and they did have quite a run. I'll say that overall spirits of the Public Works team were high over the holiday weekend. We checked in with them several times, and they got through it. And at least they were earlier out there this evening with the snow that was coming in. I haven't checked in with them since then to see if they're still out there, but they're on the ball for sure.
And plus now with the snow, the whole decorating, everything that they did too with that.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got that up when they did.
Yes.
Perfect timing. But really, their efforts are really appreciated. It's been a lot of work, and I know this is a pretty small team.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're still down some staff members currently as well, so we're not even at our full complement at the moment.
Wow. And throw in a water main break. And,
yes.
Yeah.
And the decorations look fantastic.
Yes.
They do.
So,
Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely pass that along to the team.
Thank you. All right, Village Manager Bear.
Thank you. I was going to lead with leaves and snow. So the leaf collection has been suspended due to snow, as you know. Our vehicles and equipment had to be outfitted for salt spreaders and snow plows. And as Director Supert noted, it's a small staff right now, but I think they've done an amazing job of trying to pivot from 6 weeks of leaf collection into snow in a very short period of time. It does not look, based on the weather we had today and the potential freezing weather we expect in the next few days, that we will get back to leaf collection before the end of the season, which was supposed to end this week, Friday. So likely we will just continue through the winter with our snow operations. If there's any opportunity to clean up some of the leaves as we go through with street sweeping, Director Supert always has a final street sweeping. We will try to get everything cleaned up as we do each year at the end of leaf season. So we'll just have to play it by ear with the weather and see where we end up. I'm happy to answer any specific questions, or if you have any neighbors who have specific concerns, please let us know, and we'll see what we can do to address those. I wanted to mention a few different kind of fun seasonal things that are going on. As always, we're doing our holiday light recycling through January 31st, so if you put up your Christmas lights and found out that half of them don't work, please feel free to bring them to the recycling boxes at Village Hall and at True Value and at the Thomas Ford Memorial Library. Those boxes will be there through the end of January. So at the end of the season, if you have any lights that don't work, that's also the spot to go. Recreation has two things that we've been really advertising, and I think they both are exciting and want to bring to your attention. One is a new program, a new event that they're planning called Breakfast with Buddy the Elf. And so at the Recreation Center, Buddy the Elf will be joining us for breakfast. It's a registration event, but open to everyone. The event is Saturday, December 13th from 10 to 11:30. They'll be having breakfast with Buddy. And it's really nice sponsorships from Mariano's and Starbucks, and we're really excited for that new event. And then the other is some of the upcoming open gyms. So during Thanksgiving break, as well as over the holiday break with the schools in December. Bless you. The Recreation Department is trying to offer additional open gyms times. And I know for anyone who have kids out of school during those times, they're always looking for someplace to go and something to do. And these open gyms have become really popular. So we're really trying to make space for those opportunities for the general public to bring their kids in and enjoy the gym. I believe they're also having some adult open times as well. So looking forward to seeing what they can pull together for the next holiday break, but I think it was very popular over Thanksgiving as well. And that is all I have for my report.
Great, thanks very much. All right, Attorney Skradsky.
No report tonight, thank you.
All right, very good. Well, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
No, I'll make a motion.
Oh,
Okay.
I will make a motion to
Sorry.
adjourn.
And I'll second your motion,
Yes.
trustee. Hudson.
All right,
Myself
fantastic.
there.
Fantastic. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. I'm going to do the gavel. We're adjourned.
Oh, wow.
We're going to use that now. It's gonna be
Whoa,
new.
it seems official.
I know, we're going to do it. It's going to be new.
Well done, team.